Well, good afternoon, everyone. Excited about how the guys played last Saturday. I thought we played a complete game. I was really impressed that we started really fast, got up 14-3. I thought the touchdown before half to get us up 21-3 was really good. I thought our guys played fast. They ran to the football. They were physical. We were definitely ready to play the game, and Kansas did some good things against us that challenged us, and then starting off the second half with a big touchdown run by Deuce was big for us. Get up 28-3 and got a chance to play an awful lot of guys. Everybody that went on the trip, I think, pretty much got in the game or pretty close to that, and came out of the game healthy, which is another real positive. And had our first practice yesterday for West Virginia. Everybody was out there at practice, which has been the first time we've had everybody practice on a Monday in quite a while, so that was a really good sign. And have to have a great week of preparation because this is a really good football team we're playing. They're really sound on defense. They're very physical, very fast, and they've got a bunch of veteran guys on offense, so it'll be a big challenge for us.
When you first talked to Cedar Ridge High School coach Sam Robinson about Deuce, what were some of the things that he mentioned to you?
Well, I know a bunch of people, a bunch of our coaches probably had a chance to visit with him. I didn't get to that high school, but I just you could see a kid on film that loved to play the game. You could see a guy that did everything right on and off the field. You could see a young man that was a competitor, and that's the thing that so impressed us right away was how he played the game. And then when you got on the phone with him, and then he and his mother came up, I think were the first two that came up on the visit, and you could just see an energy in the young man, and how his personality could be contagious with people, and it has been ever since he arrived on campus. He's always got a smile on his face. He always practices hard. He always challenges his teammates to be better, and it's been a lot of fun to coach him the last 2 years.
He's obviously on the verge of accomplishing some rare feats this season that really hadn't been accomplished very many times in the last 10 years. Could you foresee this time happening for him in his sophomore season?
Yeah, I really could, especially after watching him his first fall camp here, that he had that it factor, had that special ability. And then the more you got the ball in his hands, the more he was around our system and understood more and more of how he fit within the framework of our offense, the more we were able to utilize him, the more confidence I think that he had as well. And so nothing that Deuce Vaughn does surprises me, and probably should surprise anybody that's around the kid as much as we are on a daily basis, because he just checks every box, and it's fun to be around him. And it's fun to have our young players, even though Deuce is young, to see what hard work does, and what preparation does, and what taking care of your body does to lead to have success.
You answered my third question. Thank you.
Chris, maybe a hard question to put your finger on, but what is it about West Virginia that's been a difficult matchup for Kansas State over the past few years?
Physical play for starters. I thought last year they won the line of scrimmage against us on both sides. Well coached. Tremendous amount of respect for Neil. Guys are always ready to play. They're in the right spot. They make plays, and it's in all phases: offense, defense, and special teams. And that's what I think makes it such a challenge for us. Is we have to be on our A game in all three phases, and if we're not, we're going to have a long afternoon. And so I know our guys are excited about the challenge, and we have to have a great week of preparation because we've got to play our best.
Streak at all as motivation this week?
No, I try not to do that. No matter what the game is, whether you've won a bunch of them in a row or not won, I've just never been a fan of that. Even to last week, when we had won a bunch in a row against KU, it's more of it's the 2021 team against their 2021 team, and it's different people in different spots, and the dynamic of each team is a little bit different, and it's this year's version against their version, and it's going to be a big challenge for us.
And I also wanted to ask about Skylar. Is there anything you've seen? I mean, we see what he does on the field, but is there anything you've seen from him preparation-wise during the week that's really helped him during the stretch?
Yeah, he's always been a guy that's prepared exceptionally well. Watched film, asked a lot of questions, took notes, visited with wideouts, tight ends, running backs. Brings those guys together on his own with the quarterbacks, so they watch extra film in the evenings. Whether it be practice or game film, to just get on the same page. The communication that I witnessed in practice, even yesterday, just doing some 7-on-7 on a Monday, the communication he has with his guys at wide receiver and tight end is on point, and everybody seems to be in sync. And that's when you're clicking, is when everybody's on the same page, and he's done a great job of fostering those relationships by meeting with those guys all the time.
West Virginia's been a little inconsistent this year. What do you see from them when they're playing their good football? What do they do well?
You watch them against Oklahoma, and I really thought they won the line of scrimmage against Oklahoma. I thought that they were very disciplined. They didn't miss any tackles, and against Oklahoma, that's the key, because the ball is going to be out in space, and they didn't miss any tackles. I watched them against TCU eliminate big plays and find big plays of their own, and some of it's matchups too. They have tremendous skill at wide receiver and running back and an experienced quarterback. So you can't just say we're going to try to shut down the run game or try to eliminate somebody out of the wide receiver group, because they have so many people that can beat you. And then on defense, they've got a bunch of veteran guys that played a lot of football, and they know where they fit, and they do a good job running the ball.
Defensively for you guys, it looks like you've kind of stripped back the defense a little bit, got back to your basics, so to speak. Is it hard to balance that between being simple for the guys to understand and being too simple for the offense?
Yeah, there is a good balance in that. But what we feel is our guys play faster when we strip it back. And we'd like to keep adding things. And we did a little bit against KU based on some personnel groups and some formations. But when our guys are playing slow, we're not a very good defense. And so we have to go back to what our kids know and what our guys can execute at a high level. And when you see guys like Daniel Green and even Austin Moore last week, a couple of linebackers playing as fast as they are, it makes it easier on the secondary because they can clean up some of the plays because those backers are playing fast. And we're playing so many guys up front, as we all know, so that's keeping guys fresh. And I still think it's better for us that less is better right now.
And on special teams, Kansas did a nice job of kind of taking your return game out. Are you afraid you're going to see a lot more of that in the future?
They did. We had a couple nice returns. Phillip had a couple really nice plays, but whether it was Pooch kicking it on kick returns, there was a little bit of a win that made sense to me, and then doing the same thing, kind of angling some punts. Trying not to give us the explosive play, and we have to find ways to continue to manufacture some returns, because we need to be able to flip a field. And we were able to flip one. We had one explosive return. We need to be able to flip a field so that we can get a 50-yard field, because the negative about the Kansas win for us as a coaching staff is we didn't create a turnover that would have gotten us a short field. And so we've got to continue to emphasize that so we can get a short field by creating a strip, an interception, and if we can't, we've got to be able to do it on teams.
Will Howard went into the game. He just didn't turn around and hand it off. Was it important to get him some real passing reps?
You bet. It was a big emphasis for us to get him running and to get him throwing. And I thought Will looked fresh. I thought he looked really comfortable. He looked confident. We had a couple of plays called back, but it was fun to see him, go a quarterback run game and a guy's unblocked and he runs through an arm tackle. He threw a couple of strikes. It's fun to watch, and we talked about it yesterday, and he felt comfortable. He felt confident. It was fun for him to get back out there, and I know his body feels pretty good compared to last year.
Already, I assume that means Julius Brents is okay?
Yep, he practiced yesterday.
In this era with the new rules and stuff, it's kind of switching gears a little bit. How tough is it to roster manage and identify what your recruiting needs are throughout the year?
Yeah, it's really hard. The NCAA granting some initial counters will help us, but you still don't know because we're going to have an awful lot of guys go through senior day next week, and then they have to make decisions. We have to make decisions. How many of those guys are coming back? And it's just there's not a right time to talk about that. We talk about it internally, but there's some guys that have said, "Hey, I'm in their own mind saying this is my last go round and I'm ready to roll." And there's other guys that are still contemplating coming back for that extra COVID year. But we've talked about this before. That's going to be, for the foreseeable future. We're going to have this kind of conversation every December, and so it is. The recruiting is really difficult because the roster management. You got to keep it at 85, and there's going to be some difficult choices for guys.
How would you summarize Daniel Green's growth and his progress throughout the season?
I think he's playing at an all-conference level. I really do. Excited for him. His first year as a true full-time starter. He has played a lot our previous 2 years, but this year being a full-time starter and being the guy, we put an awful lot on his plate as far as making some adjustments and some calls and some line stunts, and he feels more and more confident each week. I know he's playing with a lot of confidence. I think it helps him having a guy like Cody with him. That's another really good super senior that between the two of them, they've played a lot of ball and they've played a lot of ball together. And so it's a comfort level for Coach Standard to have those two guys out there. But I think Daniel's playing at a really high level.
You mentioned West Virginia's defense. Oklahoma State had some short fields against them. Are there a player or two that jumps out at you for the Mountaineers?
There's a bunch of them. Their defensive front is dominating, and they really rush the passer well. There's a number of guys there. I'd leave somebody out, and so I won't get any names. But there's a bunch of guys that rush the passer, and I think they really do a nice job in the back seven of tackling and running through leverage and not giving you much after contact. And, Oklahoma State's doing that to a lot of teams right now, and they're playing really well on defense. And I saw it last week with KU and saw it this week with West Virginia. That defense is playing as good as there is in the country probably.
Do you think Skylar Thompson is playing at an all-conference level right now?
I do. I think he is. I think Deuce Vaughn is. There's just a lot of good quarterbacks and a lot of good running backs, and so you control what you can control. And the numbers that Skylar's putting up is really fun to see. And for us to put the game in his hands a lot more this year and feel comfortable that, pocket breaks down and he's going to scramble out direct traffic and send Malik, who is running an out-breaking cut, vertical and throw a big touchdown was huge. For him to step aside of a pressure and throw a strike to Cade Warner, for him to do some things on third down and know that, okay, can I throw it here to Landry for a first down, or I'm going to take a shot? And he's smart enough to say, no, we're going to keep moving the chains. I mean, I think the game has slowed down for him so much. He's so comfortable with the system we have. He's comfortable with the play calls. He's comfortable in changing things. And without a doubt, he's having an all-conference type season. All that being said, none of that is under his control or our control. I just know that for him going into his last year and coming back with the injury that he had, to think where we're at now with him compared to where we were, the second quarter of the Southern Illinois game, I know I hope he's pleased with where he's at, and I know we are.
Looking at the two deep and on the roster, I noticed Tatum Winkle is not on the roster anymore. Is he not with the team?
Yeah, Tatum decided to hang it up. He had an injury and didn't know if he could come back from that, and so decided to step aside, focus on his academics. Tremendous amount of respect for Tatum, and wish him nothing but the best. It wasn't something where he got in trouble or we asked him not to come back or he didn't. It's just he had an injury and didn't think he was going to be healthy enough to finish it out and wants to get his degree, and tremendous amount of respect for Tatum.
2 weeks in a row, Skylar's taken a late hit out of bounds. The first time there was a big scrum, a player gets ejected. This time around it wasn't like that. Nobody was ejected, no punches. Was there ever a discussion with the team about keeping composure even though your QB is taking a
Yeah,
hit like that.
and that's hard to do with a bunch of guys that are going to protect their quarterback. And our guys did a good. We talked about it before the game. We talked about it all week that this could get to be a chippy situation, and lo and behold, it happened, and it happened on our sideline, which is always worrisome on our sideline. But credit True Carroll and the strength and conditioning staff because they were right there. They made sure nothing was going to happen. And proud of our guys to stay away from that and not get to any personal fouls, run sportsmanlike. And Skylar's good; he's all right. And it wasn't a good situation, but came out of it okay.
You talked about simplifying the defense. Also, I think you mentioned yesterday on the Big 12 calls some position changes.
Yeah.
Was that more just? I know Reggie Stubblefield was. Started last game. Are you going more with 6 defensive backs, or is he?
Some of it's based on personnel. Some of it, we moved J-Mac. We're learning this defense just like you guys know we're learning this defense because we're making some mistakes within the defense, and I knew that was going to happen this year as we continue to evaluate our talent and evaluate where we're going to put people on the field, as well as where does Sincere Mason fit in? Where does Ross Elder fit in? And we made the move a couple weeks ago to put, or last week to put J-Mac as the middle safety and give him an opportunity to get closer to the action. And that was a good move for us. And TJ's still a part of that mix. But J-Mac's a 6-year guy that provides a bunch of experience in there of playing the game. And then I think it suited Ross and Sincere better to be on the boundary safety, and they're playing and splitting time. And then between Reggie and Henny and Wayne Jones, I think all 3 are really good football players, and some of it is based on the down and distance, and some of it is based on what personnel the offense has. But all 3 of those guys are really capable players. And then every other position, as you guys know, it's just mass line changes of D linemen and corners and linebackers to get more and more guys on the field.
Chris, you referenced, the West Virginia defense and the guys up front, but is Stills one of the premier disruptors, not just in the conference, but in D1?
Yeah, and he's been that way for a while. I know his brother was there too, but he is a difference maker, can rush the passer, can always going to draw a double team on run game, and they move him around. He's not just playing inside, he's playing some outside. They're doing a lot of different things with him, and they're finding different ways to get a 4-man rush. With some different combinations of 4 down to 3 down and rushing a linebacker, rushing a kind of a hybrid position as well. And that's what makes them difficult is they're just not lining up and where everybody's at. And so it helps to have an experienced quarterback, an experienced offensive line to try to, make sure that we're getting in the right calls based on whether it's the front or the pressure that we see.
Chris, I know it probably seems like we ask you this every week about like the opposing running back in the Big 12, but what is it about Letty Brown that makes him so good?
Physicality. He runs with a purpose, runs with an attitude. Fun watching him run because he doesn't take the punishment, he delivers the punishment. And I'm super impressed with him, have been for a while. He's a terrific football player, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. When they go to their empty, they keep him in the game, and he becomes kind of a wide receiver. They run some screens to him. Obviously, he's great with just handing the ball off to him, but he's a complete player.
And then kind of a two-part question is that Felix mentioned after the game that KU threw double and sometimes even triple teams at him, and he expects that's basically going to be the case going forward for the rest of this year. First, how much does a player's mindset have to change when you go from the double team, from a single one-on-one to like double or triple team, and then does technique have to change at all?
Well, you got to be patient. For starters, you got to play within the framework of the defense. I thought they did a good job of chipping him all the time on third downs. They even chipped Nate a couple of times on third down, and Nate got his hand on a ball and made a good play. And I think when you have a disruptive pass rusher, like we've had here for an awful long time, the ball probably comes out a little bit quicker. And, you're either going to get doubled or you're going to get chipped. And you just got to keep playing within the framework of the defense. And when you have an opportunity to get that one-on-one, you need to be able to win.
I was going to ask about the receiving core. A couple of young guys getting some time, like with Jalen Travis comes to mind, and RJ. Do you see them continuing to have expanded roles moving forward?
Yeah, I do. Last week we were banged up with Phillip and Malik, and Phillip didn't play very much, which was a good thing because he's healthy this week now. So that gave both RJ and Jalen an opportunity to get more reps in practice, gain more confidence, we relied more on guys like Cade, and Cade had a really good game, made a couple big-time plays for us. Keenan Garber's continuing to improve, had a couple of really nice catches, had a couple of really good blocks. The game's slowing down for Keenan. We have so many wide receivers right now, and everybody knows about Malik and Phillip and Landry that are making the lion's share of the catches, but there's so many other guys that maybe are catching a ball or two, but getting a bunch of reps that I think make that position a strength for us. We have a lot of depth there. We can play an awful lot of guys.
Have those elements of your secondary fallen together to help you play efficiently at a high level?
They have. We're continuing to improve. We busted a couple of coverages, and it was a lack of communication, not necessarily a technique error, but a communication error that we're always trying to shore up, because that's the thing with secondary play. You can play really well, but you have one bad play, and everybody knows that that's the bad play. Those guys are playing more and more together. I look at guys like Russ Yeast and Sincere that are new to our program, Julius new to our program, Reggie new to our program, that are getting more and more comfortable and confident with each other out on the field. Playing an awful lot of guys probably makes the communication even more and more difficult, because there's just so many. It's not like this guy only plays with this guy. They all have to be interchangeable. But we're playing better in the secondary. We're going to be challenged this week for sure with a bunch of really good wide receivers, and so it's something that we're always emphasizing.
You mentioned in your post-game comments about being bowl eligible. How big is that for the program, and is that something you kind of now drop and move on to the next?
Well, yeah, we absolutely need to move on. But I'm happy for those seniors that came back, or the seniors that are deciding what they're going to do, that they know that on their last go-around they're going to get a chance to play postseason football. I think that's really important to those guys. In the same respect, I think we can still have a really special season. And if we continue to keep trending in that direction of playing with more confidence, preparing every week like we have the last 3 weeks, believing that we're getting better and better, and cutting it loose and playing with great technique and playing physical, those things, I think we can have a really special season. But it starts today with practice and continues on, so that we give ourselves a great chance to be successful each and every Saturday. But no question, I'm happy about, especially after starting 0-3 in conference play. The schedule's the schedule. We started with really tough games, and we've won 3 tough games, and so the schedule's the schedule. You still have to beat people to get to that number to be able to play postseason football, and it didn't look good here for a little while. And credit to our seniors, credit to our leadership to say, you know what, we've got to take more ownership in this. We got to hold each other more accountable so that we can be prepared and ready to play every Saturday. And we've been able to do that the last 3 weeks.
Is that kind of a box you can check off, though, as the
Absolutely,
season?
you bet.
I ain't got time for 2 if he answers quickly enough. Okay. So going back to Tayton real quick, I guess not that you're happy about that situation, but how thankful are you that at least Chris has gotten in these last 2 games and kicked, so you're not going into game 10 with no one on the roster to kick a field goal in any live game?
Yeah, and Chris has continued to take half of the reps all season long, because we always thought it was an ongoing battle. But now it just brings Ty back to the forefront of he may be an option on game day. He kicks now, and we just had taken that off his plate. He was just kicking off and punting. Now he becomes a field goal kicker as well. And so you've got another, a senior that's a reliable guy that the moment won't get to him. So he just takes more of those reps.
And then just follow up on what you asked about Daniel earlier. I mean, he's leading you in tackles. He's second in tackles for loss to Felix. How much more impressive does it make it when you think that he's missed 4 full quarters of football because of the unfortunate targeting stuff?
Yeah, and he's not let that bother him at all. He's just continued to move forward, and I think he does a great job of preparation and seeing plays throughout the week, watching film, and the play he made on the quarterback to stop a drive. They were third and 2 or something. And I thought they were in 4-down territory, and he ran through and hit the kid for a 3-yard loss. That's something that we had worked in practice, and he shot out of a cannon. He knew the play and went and blew it up. And he's just playing at a really confident level, and that's fun to watch him because he's a special player.